Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thanks, Naveen, for not mentioning any of my nicknames that you have developed for me, you and no one else. Just making that obvious. So today, inshallah, I'll be speaking about what you basically just saw, which is community engagement, and why that is so important to the future of this community. Because at the end of the day, we can't progress without it. To rewind a little bit, when I first decided on my university degree, I asked myself, what path would allow me to make the most social change? I automatically decided that it would be journalism and law. So I decided to do both at the same time, which was a very, very bad idea. Nonetheless, my struggles with my pointless university degrees aside, eventually I found myself drawn to neither. As I didn't truly believe in them. I wanted them to become a vehicle for my ideas, but they were a beast all their own, requiring me to focus entirely within them. But the fact that I turned first to journalism is telling. There is no doubt of the potential for change there, whether of opinions or of mindsets. Without wanting to state the obvious, Muslims are going to continue to be in the media in the coming years. But we are in flux. We condemn the media for its approach to any issue involving Muslims, however, turn them away when they come to us. There are so many times I've had journalists approach me and tell me that they are unable to find someone to interview for this issue, or they are unable to find someone to speak on behalf of the community or speak on anything whatsoever. It's a continuous problem, and I feel like we've reached a stage now where we should be able to come out and say what needs to be said and engage with the media in a very positive manner. More importantly, however, it is important we remain connected with the media and hold them accountable for their approach. The current worldwide coverage of the struggles of the Palestinian people against the Israeli apartheid state ranges from acceptable to downright deplorable. But yet how can we let that be known if we have to sit in our cocoons and silent the outside world? How are we going to truly achieve a change in our conditions if we remain in denial of the world that we live in? We can be divided, from my experiences, we can be divided into two categories, optimists and pessimists. Pessimists will tell you the system is broken, they'll tell you there's no way out, they'll tell you that there's no point to discussing anything, there's no point to engaging with anyone, and there's no point in talking to the media, because you will always make mistakes. These voices are too strong in our community at the moment. There are too many of these voices in our community at the moment, and they're too loud. But on the other hand, there are optimists. Optimists will tell you that although the system may be broken, there is still something to be done. There are still ways to go about it, and it is still worth it to put your voice out there and let your voices be heard. They'll show you a viable, natural path forward. They'll show you a real social, economic, and political growth. They'll show you how to shift your focus away from being defensive, one of our biggest problems. If we do not engage with the media or with government for that matter, how can we ever be on the front foot? We will always be behind the curb, reacting to what they send to us instead of engaging with them and trying to take one positive step forward. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Ad-din al-nasiha," which means in the religion there is advice. In the same way, a relationship you have with your family is complicated and multi-layered, and it isn't mutually exclusive to your ability to give them advice. Our relationship with governments does not preclude us from advising them. We need not simplify community consultation to a mere subscription to any one political agenda compared to not. People are complicated, and as such is their politics. I, for example, am neither a conservative nor a liberal, liberal being with a little L and not with a capital L, as some people sometimes get confused. And that again does not affect the basis by which I interact with government bodies. For example, my stance on immigration will not cause me to be angry while I wait to renew my license at the RTA. It is still government engagement, technically speaking, but I shouldn't confuse the two bodies, although I am still allowed to be angry because the wait is really long. Nonetheless, we don't live in a black and white world. We live in a world where we are the color to the white canvas. And this thinking needs to start applying to our attitude to engagement. Who else should speak for us but ourselves? Who else should be in control of our stories but ourselves? Who else should tell our stories but ourselves? Who else should have the agency over our message, our voice, and how else can we change it if we are not the ones speaking in the first place? I can't count the amount of times that I heard journalists tell me again that they've had negative experiences with Muslims, mainly in recent times. Although the media can be faulted in the past, we need to look forward. And yes, so the media has generally speaking, when it comes to these kind of things, struggled to find new voices, struggled to find articulate voices, struggled to find young voices out there. So often they've had to, as Wijan pointed out, go to the usual suspects. And that's absolutely disappointing to me, because before me I see amazing people with amazing, articulate, intelligent voices that have either gone through PIP or are amazing in their professional field, or I've met at another iftar somewhere, or another dinner somewhere, or another community event. These are the voices that should be out there, the voices that I would love to hear more often, whether it is in the media, whether it is via articles, whether it is via government consultation, however else. These are the voices that need to begin to dominate compared to the pessimists. Why should we let our wariness with the media deter us? Sure, I can agree that there have been individuals burnt in the past, but that means we learn from our experiences and we take a step forward, instead of refusing to ever again do anything with the media, acting as though the media does not exist and we have no say in what they do. But again, we are naturally an optimistic community. There is nothing to say we cannot come back from a bad experience a better community, one more equipped to face any kind of situation. So I'm here to invite you to a new era for the Muslim community, when we are not unafraid of platforms, but come to take them on and adopt them as our own. We already have a handful of Muslim bloggers and columnists, but I see so many people who can do so much more. We should have our voices out there. We should be telling the world about the unfairness and the injustices in the world. That should be the Muslim voice standing up for the oppressed, the Muslim voice standing up for the people that don't have the power or the autonomy to speak for themselves. That's what we should do. As Victor Hugo once said, there is nothing stronger than an idea whose time has come. We have a tremendous responsibility here, not just to be good Muslims, but to be compassionate human beings and to take advantage of the opportunity afforded to us. Much of the activists that I've seen in the past that take on some of the issues that I just mentioned have based their approach in anger and fire. That isn't to detract from their criticisms and their statements, but they are forgetting the truisms of the country that we live in, the system they operate in, and the people that support them. We must understand our own context, our history, our present, and our position in this society if we are to extract true change. We must utilize what is before us to our own advantage, standing up for our Islamic values and our brothers and sisters, both in Islam and in humanity. This is a moral imperative on this planet, to stand up for what is right and for what is just. Despite what we see, as a Muslim, our message must always be of hope, that there is a way forward and that there is something that we can do. We must not sit back and just accept what has come to us and criticize via Facebook statuses. We believe heaven is true, and we believe hell is true. And we believe that we will all be judged for our actions, and we cannot give up hope for justice to prevail in this world. If we become hopeless, what do we say to the millions of Jews who fled persecution in Europe, attempting to avoid the very crimes they are now perpetrating under the state of Israel, namely crimes against humanity? Did they have hope? What do we say to the Africans who survived the transatlantic slave trade, who generations later fought for their civil rights? What do we say to the Jews and Muslims who fled Andalusia under the Inquisition and who go on to establish themselves in North Africa and Turkey? Did they not have hope? We must remain hopeful in these circumstances. Thank you.